All right, good evening, everybody. How are we doing? We're ninth grade parents. This is exciting. All right, now I'm going to click and this and present. How am I doing, Sean? Oh, okay. Other tab? This one. No, this one. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Oh, not, wait, sorry. Sorry, you guys. Now I messed this up. Sorry. That's okay. Yes. Oh, right, okay. You all are going to understand why this is so complicated in just a few minutes. Do we want to talk about this for a second? Sure. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Mizuguchi, the principal. We're going to do more formal introductions in just a minute. And this is one of our assistant principals, Sean Gass, who is a techno wizard and we're experimenting with something tonight. So he's going to explain what we're going to do.
I think I just proved I'm not a techno wizard. But this is called a Pear Deck, and it's something that we're trying to use in a little bit too much of a complicated way, but it's pretty simple on your end. If you have questions during the slides tonight, there's a bunch of slides that will allow you to type some questions into them. So if you want to take out your phone or any device that you have that's connected to the internet, and just go to joinpd.com, and then you type in this code, which is AGRBXZ. If you don't get the code right now, that's okay. It'll be in the upper right-hand corner as Dr. Mizuguchi is presenting. And then you can use that to type in questions throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to all of your questions at the end. So that's the deal with that.
And now what? Okay, so now we... Okay. Pear Deck, by the way, is a tool that your students have encountered probably in classrooms. Okay. All right, we are good. All right, perfect. So once again, welcome to all of you. It's been lovely chatting with some of you on your way in, lots of familiar faces, lots of eager faces. I wanted to sort of back up a little bit and first of all point out that the slideshow that was running while you were entering was a slideshow that we showed all of your students, our ninth graders, during orientation. We asked our staff members to create a slide of themselves as high schoolers, which kind of fun, kind of strange, and kind of embarrassing in some cases, and then offer some advice to all the ninth graders. And so that was the show that kind of greeted our ninth graders as they were gathered right here, both during, they've been here once before, for those of you whose students were at the middle school in June, came over for a little bit of a move-over day, and then last week for orientation. So what we're going to do tonight, we want, even though this is very presentational, we're in the theater, we've got a slideshow, we really want this to be interactive and feel comfortable and familiar to all of you. We're here to engage with you. We want to hear your questions. We do have some slides to sort of lay out a foundation, hopefully, of information that's helpful to you, and then begin conversations. So first of all, we want to be able to have a chance to really tell you about who we are, what we believe in, our work with students, and what we strive to create for your students' experience all 4 years here at the high school. We also are lucky enough to have some very important folks who will play an important role in your students' lives over the next 4 years, and we'll do some introductions of those folks so you can sort of match a name with a face or a role with a person in case you have additional questions as we move forward. Again, we want to answer your questions and then hopefully through those questions learn more about your students and how they're doing so far during their transition to high school. So we're going to do some introductions, and I'll have my admin team come on up. We're going to do something a little different for introductions. Also here, and you'll hear from some of these folks later tonight, our department chair of our counseling department is here, Mary Beth Sacramone. We have Amy Lima, who is the coordinator of our academic support center, and James Chiarelli, who is one of our adjustment counselors and also works in our transitions program, is also here. So you'll be hearing from some of those folks during the evening. Most importantly and most excitedly, we'll have two students, one of whom is already here, Piper Sinti, one of our seniors, who is going to offer such helpful wisdom and advice. Just listen to Piper, basically, and everybody's going to be fine. She and another peer will be joining us on stage to answer your questions and offer some student perspectives. So one of the things that our teachers have been doing to really create a sense of belonging in their classrooms this year, particularly in terms of building relationships and welcoming folks in, which has felt so joyous, by the way, given where we've been the last 3 years. They've been doing a lot of different activities and things with students to help build those relationships really early. And we learned at our staff meeting yesterday that some of our teachers have asked their students to create an introductory slide, and then they put those slides together and share them with the class and kind of use that slide as a way to introduce themselves. So we did introductory slides. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura I think you're the first one.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Laura Cole. I grew up right down 27 in Natick, Massachusetts, so really local, familiar with the area. I have a kindergartner this year. There were a lot of tears at the beginning of the week, but I'm doing okay now. My husband works over at Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School too. I started my career at Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School. I kind of entered education in a weird spot. I was working with students who were in active recovery, transitioning back to a public school setting. And I got into a school that was really supporting kids in mental health, and I said, oh my gosh, this is what I really want to do. And then I became the director of counseling over at Lincoln Sudbury. I went and got my licensure to be an assistant principal, and I found my way back down 27 towards Wayland High School, and I've been here for about 4 years. I started in the year of the pandemic, so everything's still a little new to me, so any nervousness that you may have, I kind of am figuring it out too. This is my first in-person real, me running it, 9th grade orientation, and it was great. But me and Mr. Gass are still kind of figuring out Wayland in a non-COVID bubble. For fun, I like to be outside, I like sports, I love the Red Sox. I understand we're 16 and a half games behind, but I still have faith. But, just kind of a hometown person, really excited to be a part of this community. And I don't know who I'm going to introduce, so I'm going to click the slide, and I'm introducing Sean Gass.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Gass, and I'm the other assistant principal here. And like Laura, I joined Wayland High School, 2019, just in time for all the fun. And now we're Laura and I keep joking, this is our first normal year of high school, which actually I think Piper could probably say the same thing right now. So I got here by way of kind of a circuitous route. I grew up in Cambridge. I moved to California after college and lived in San Francisco for a long time. I taught English and history there for a while. And then I became a turnaround instructional coach and then moved back here and was a principal up in Salem before coming to Wayland High School. Those are my two kids that I sent off to school this morning for their first day. So I'm fresh off the crying jag as well. And I think I definitely feel how you guys must have been feeling over this last week. As my kids have re-entered the school world. I think I'm kind of coming out ahead right now with loving the Celtics over the Red Sox a little bit because we're the favorites to go to the finals again. But other things I love to do, I love to be outside. I surf a lot. I pretty much love anything that floats, including myself in the water, spending some time with my kids and trying to train my puppy not to eat my house. That's been the last couple of months. So it's really exciting to get to see all of you here, and the assistant principals kind of split classes a little bit, so you'll probably hear from Laura a little bit more than you'll hear from me, but we work as a team really closely, so you'll also hear from me about a number of things. You may have already received emails from both of us, and so we work as a team to support your kids. We're really excited to get to know you and get to know them and to get started. And I'm going to introduce Ms. Sacramone, our Director of Counseling.
Don't read, we're going to talk. Don't read. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Beth Sacramone, the head of the Guidance Department, which is also called the Counseling Department. It's a little bit of everything, guidance and counseling, but lots of counseling over the past few years. I grew up in Connecticut with 3 older brothers, so so it's survival of the fittest, basically. My parents and my brothers are obsessed with football, and that's because my father was a football coach, my 3 brothers played football, one of which played it in college. Pretty much now they're obsessed with the Pats and the Giants. Giants, I know, boo, boo, boo. But Connecticut, we didn't have our own team, so we picked the Giants. And now the Buccaneers, because my mom literally calls Tom Brady my Tommy. And that's even though my brother's name is Tommy and my father's name is Tommy. Doesn't matter. Tom Brady is who she wants to be with all the time. I've been in education for 32 years at various different places. This is my 21st year at Wayland High School. Ricky Bear Golden, who is the white dog up there, is our service dog in the counseling office. She is the most important counselor in the office, and most kids come to look for her instead of one of us. It's great to have her there. And I also have a rescue dog at home. I'm all about dogs, and her name's Luna. We would not bring her to school because it would not be safe, but we're working on it. Also a pandemic puppy, so that's been fun. RBG and I also do community service outside of school, at hospitals, old folks' homes, children's hospitals, primarily Dana-Farber. We've been at a lot as well, so that's very fun. And I really, truly, truly, truly love the group that I work with, most of which are here, and my counselors. But most of all, my job is to really love the students, and it's the best part of my job. And watching your students as 9th graders become 12th graders will be amazing for you, as well as for us as counselors and teachers. So thanks for coming tonight.
And lastly, my intro slide. So I guess all you need to know about me is I've been here for a very long time. I'm one of the old ladies on campus now. I've been here for about 25 years. I started as an English teacher here, first job out of college or out of grad school, and just stayed. I'm a San Diego native, love everything to do with San Diego, including the Padres. And I have 2 children who are also in the district, and my husband is a teacher, so we have a lot of conversations about education at home. So I'm going to turn it over to another very important person who is part of our community, who will introduce herself and sort of the role of the PTO. Sejal Srinivasan is our president of the PTO. We're so fortunate for the support of the PTO and Sejal's visionary support of our work here at the high school in particular.
Thank you. I am much shorter than everybody else, but I'm so glad the mics are working. Hi, everyone. I'm Sejal. It's nice to see everyone here and welcome you to the high school community. I don't know how many of the families are new, but if you are, welcome to our new school, or to your new school. I want to talk to you a little bit about the high school PTO. We do some fundraising to fund some, I call them bells and whistles, to hang on the high school experience. And also do some volunteer work to help the students enrich their experience. So for example, last year we ran Career Day, which is an opportunity for the junior class to explore different career options. It used to be run within the high school. We've had people retire, so we took that over. This year we're adding what we call the Completely Helpful All the Time Hour, which is the chat hour. It's a parent enrichment session. I don't know if people went to the Middle More Coffees at the middle school, so similar to that, we'll dig in more deeply with Dr. Mizuguchi and others at the high school to learn more about the academics and extracurriculars, and also to talk about some important parenting issues and other concerns that you may have. From a fundraising perspective, we've put in about $20,000 or more into the high school each year. Most of those funds, about 3/4 of it, goes to the students. So that funds things like the Career Day, like the classroom library refresh each year, some of the materials for student clubs, et cetera. We also do some staff appreciation events for the faculty and the high school staff. And we have a team of people that help us to do that, so if that's something you're interested in volunteering for, we're always looking for help. And then we also spend about 5% of our budget on parent enrichment types of activities. We maintain the landscape bed outside, and hopefully you guys are familiar with our membership toolkit as well. That's our family directory. So that's a little bit about where our money goes. We hope that you'll stay connected with us. We had a table set up out front. We talked a little bit about Gift Your Child. It's our only fundraiser here at the high school. So we hope that everyone will be able to donate to that. We have the chat hour. There is dates for the ones that we have coming up for this calendar year. We're still planning for the rest of the school year. So if you have topics that you're interested in, please reach out to us to let us know. We always have updates in the e-news that comes out on Friday, so you can look for any information or volunteer opportunities there. And then finally, we have a Facebook group that Jen Dennis, our communications person, posts all kinds of reminders and videos and pictures and all kinds of things on there. So I hope you'll stay connected with us. We'd love to have volunteers, and thank you for your time. Enjoy the evening.
Just wanted to also mention a couple of other opportunities for parents to get involved in our school community, one of which is the Wayland CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, so really for parents and caregivers of students who are in our special education program. I'm going to send these slides to all of you so we don't have to take notes now. Also a very robust boosters program, an organization that supports our really humongous athletics program, so we're so fortunate for their support as well. And lastly, our fine arts kind of parent organization, Kappa, that supports a lot of our fine arts endeavors here at the high school. So, who am I turning it over to first here? So this is sort of a reminder that we are happy to collect your questions, which we'll be answering at various points this evening. So it's joinpd.com, and then using the code that is in the top right-hand corner of the slides. And I will turn it over to Laura.
All right, I hope this isn't information overload. And if you ever have questions, you can reach out to us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about probably what you're hearing at home right now that's kind of different from the 8th to 9th grade transition. And then, of course, Piper is going to be up here to answer questions, and getting a student's perspective, too, is always really great to hear. But in 9th grade, you're going to hear a lot about free blocks, independence, second half of the school year being able to have free blocks in lieu of study hall. We're really working, and I was joking around with Allison and Sean, in the high school, we're really working on being micromanagers in the beginning to, by the time that they're seniors, being their consultants and making sure that they're getting what they need. Academically, they're finding balance in the rigor here. They're reaching out and doing co-curricular activities. And really that when they leave here, they've exhausted every opportunity here that they've found what they like. They found where their path is headed. And the independence that we give your students, and along with just the opportunities co-curricular here, your student will find their niche. We're gonna have a club fair, and it'll be overwhelming for them because there's like, how many clubs now? Like 50 clubs that are gonna be in the field house, and that can be overwhelming, but it's never too late to join a club. It's never too late to imagine a club, and that's really what we're trying to do here, is to let them find out, where's my path? And I came from a school that gave 9th graders free blocks right when they got there, and I can say that this model of having study hall, I think really assists kids in realizing adults are here to help me, adults are here when I need it, and that I can ask for help, and that goes into the responsibility and self-advocacy skills. And usually by the end of 9th grade, we're seeing them hit their stride in that. And you're gonna notice these differences in academics. They're gonna get new stressors, and they may not know how to cope with it. And that's why we're here. We're really here to show them you can do this. We are gonna provide you with a really rigorous academic experience, but we're here to help you. We're here to help you manage it so that when you leave here, and wherever you go after here, whether that's college, the military, or right to the workforce, you're gonna be able to continue this stride. So you're gonna hear a lot of changes and differences throughout your 4 years, and I think Piper will tell you, like every year there's something new that a kid will experience here, and that's what makes Wayland special. And of course, if you ever have concerns about your child's experience, reach out to their guidance counselor, reach out to me, and I can help find you the resources you need, or I can help problem solve a solution. That is kind of like this slide summed up, because you're gonna read that whole thing, but really we're here to help them find what they want to do with themselves after they leave here and feel their self-worth, that they can go into society and keep your vision as a family moving for your family. So that's kind of like our overarching goal here. It's very idealistic, but that's what we're striving for every day. So now I get to introduce Amy Lima, who is going to talk a little bit about some of the ninth grade supports during the school year. I mentioned a little bit of study hall. You're going to hear a little bit about counseling. We also have advisory that meets Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday every week, so your ninth grader is checking in with another adult every day. There are peer leaders like Piper throughout this entire building, helping kids every day. We have peer tutors. Amy is going to go deeper into the Academic Support Center, but here's just some of the supports that your students will have throughout the year. I know Mary Beth is going to talk about ninth grade seminar as well, okay? If you ever have any questions, please reach out, okay? So I think I'm handing to you, Amy.
Hello. As Laura just said, my name is Amy Lima, and I am the Academic Support Coordinator here at the high school. The biggest part of that job is running our Academic Support Center. So as the slide says, it's a regular education support for students when they need help. I have students who just drop in occasionally, grades 9 through 12, when they have a question, when they need a quiet place to work, or just want to say hi. And I have students who are scheduled anywhere from once a cycle, twice a cycle, 6 different times a cycle of our 48 blocks in a cycle. Right now, if you have a ninth grade student who had Academic Support Center on their schedule, that would be because their 8th grade team recommended that. They probably already communicated that with you. Or they participated in the summer bridge workshop, and one of our ongoing supports as those students transition into the high school is continuing their work with me because I run that program. The support in the Academic Center is really individualized, so I can't come up here and tell you what I do with students because it depends on the student and what they need. The types of things we do, we can help students with organization, with time management, with work completion, task initiation, study skills, and some content area support. Although we would always recommend that the students start by asking their own teacher if they aren't understanding what they're learning in class. Before this role, I was an English teacher, so I find myself reading a lot of essays, which I love and enjoy to do. And we also have peer tutors who are there in the Academic Support Center to help students because I'm not an expert in every single subject area. So we have students who are taking the classes, took them in the past few years that your students are taking now, which is a great way for students to get some additional support. Looking at my notes. Yes, the other piece I wanted to mention is that I will also be visiting all of the ninth grade seminars for 2 different blocks of a unit I've created that covers what I call student skills, some of these things like time management and organization, and test preparation, because one of the biggest topics that students talk to me about is the difference in test taking here at the high school versus at the middle school. So I've created a small unit, 2 lessons, to cover those topics that every ninth grader and ninth grade seminar will have the opportunity to learn, and that will be in October. My contact information is up there. My name is a little bit tricky to spell, so you can also remember academic_center, probably a little easier to remember. And feel free to reach out with questions anytime. And I don't know who I'm introducing next, so let's find out. Clubs.
Hi, everybody. As Laura just mentioned, we have an amazing array of clubs at Wayland High School. It's one of my favorite parts of my job is I get to help oversee the clubs and kind of coordinate with them and do some training and help with the club fair. There are too many clubs to mention here. It is amazing the number of clubs that happens, but also the activity of those clubs. These aren't just clubs that will get together once, meet again 6 months later, and that's about it. These clubs are meeting like weekly, they're doing trips together. We have these amazing, really active clubs. We have a sewing club that is now running a fundraiser, which I don't know if I'm supposed to share this yet, but so far I think it's just for faculty, but they're gonna hem all of our clothing for like $10 or $20. And so all these kids have now learned how to sew really well, and they're gonna do a fundraiser hemming people's clothing, and you should see the faculty like getting so excited about this. I think people have like piles of pants that they're going to bring in. We have the chess club, we have science olympiad, water warriors, we have yearbook. There are all sorts of things for kids to get involved in, and it's one of our biggest recommendations is encourage your kids to get involved in one thing. There is something out there for them. On September 22nd, we have a club fair that's organized by Student Council with our support, and there will be about 50 clubs out at Club Fair. There's going to be a robot making some dangerous moves around the floor, lots and lots and lots of activity and lots of opportunities to learn about what's happening here. So please encourage your kids to go and sign up for something that they're interested in. Go to a meeting, see what it's like, meet some like-minded people, and start to find a little group that they're really interested in working with. All right, so that's clubs at Wayland High School, just scratching the surface. All right, counselors.
You're all so quiet. Is everybody doing okay? Counselors have to ask that. So the counselors here are also a little bit different from the middle school. It's one of the transitions that's unique. The middle school counselors do a fantastic job, but they're all school psychologists. We are not. We do see kids 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade through our seminar program, which I'll mention in a minute. So it allows us to get to know our students, but more so we're getting to know our students individually in our offices, because sometimes the seminars we can't match up perfectly with the students all in the same group that are all with, for example, Mr. Gerard or all with Mr. Doherty. So counselors have a centralized office here, so kids can go to the counseling office if they need support. You can call the counseling office if you need support, or you know your student might need some support and you just need to reach out to the counselor. We all work as a team, but kids are assigned by alphabet for their counselors. On your student schedule would be the name of the counselor, of who they will have for the next 4 years, but roughly it's, for the most part, A through F is Mr. Gerard, G through L is Mr. Buffa, M through R is Mr. Doherty, and S through Z is Miss Bodie. I don't have 9th graders this year, and I oversee the department, which takes up a lot of my time. I still have upperclassmen that I serve as well. We also have specialists in our department, primarily because we know we have so much more supporting to do since the pandemic. We, in fact, got an additional licensed clinical counselor added to our staff last year. We also have James Chiarelli and Jen Sullivan, who are both social workers and school adjustment counselors here. And I'm going to have James talk a little bit about his role and the role of the clinical counselors here, too. So he's just going to come up for a minute.
Hi, everyone. As Mary Beth said, I'm James Chiarelli, and she just wanted me to describe more about some kind of additional social emotional supports that we have here at the high school. I'm the transitions counselor. I run a program that supports students who have missed significant amount of time, so time away from school due to medical reasons. Often those are psychiatric issues, but it's also, if someone had a very long bout of pneumonia. Another thing that is a big part of my job is concussions, protracted recovery periods from after concussions. So what I do is I provide counseling if that's needed, and then also academic case management. So I liaise between parents and students and teachers, the medical professionals outside. So I do a lot of contact with therapists and the doctors that are seeing your students. I'm happy to report it's a pretty small population. I work with 20 to 25 students, I would say, a year. So that's the transitions program. Also, as Mary Beth just said, we have LaToya Downs, who's a clinical counselor. I think it's important to again stress that our counselors in the counseling department are comprehensive counselors. They deal with all kinds of issues. I think among some students, they're wary of talking about personal issues because it might have some kind of ramification with college or something like that. I can confidently say there's really a firewall between dealing with social, emotional, personal issues and any kind of college process. That's like a pretty significant ethical boundary, I think. So if a student, though, does want to work with LaToya, who, again, her role is a strictly kind of clinical one and just focuses on mental health, they can either ask for a referral from their counselor, or they can just show up and walk in and ask to see her, and they can get going. Sometimes LaToya's work is short-term, and then other times it's more of an ongoing relationship. And then finally, Jen Sullivan, who's also an adjustment counselor, she works with our ALRT students, which is the special ed program that services students who have disabilities that are, their primary IDA disability is an emotional one. So she works with those students. I think, so just one last piece of that. My work is generally with students who are not on IEPs. If you have a student who is on an IEP and they were to miss school, they would probably be supported by their special ed liaison. Thank you all.
Mr. Chiarelli's awesome. We love our department, we love our kids, we like to support them. And as James said, Jen Sullivan, I didn't mention, so when I was saying the alphabetical breakdowns, Jen Sullivan is outside of that realm of the alphabet. She has the ALRT students and sometimes some other students that come up from the middle school that just don't go into our caseloads for balancing caseload purposes. So she also serves regular ed students at times. We work really hard to get to know your students, and one of the ways we do that is through the seminar program. So the seminar program is at all different levels, 9th through 12th grade. Specifically in 9th grade, we do our best to get your kids with their own counselors, but if that doesn't happen, it's okay, because we're pulling students in right away individually to get to know them. The 9th grade seminar program has to do with, as Amy mentioned, really transitioning students into the high school. They need to get to know us really quickly, so we have 3 sessions with them, just with a group of students, usually from 15 to 20 students. They're usually not that large, so that we can really kind of get to know them and help them to get to know the high school. That includes things like touring the building again, and actually with their schedule and knowing where things are, giving them tips on how to use the commons and the cafeteria and things like that. There is a myth that there's sections of the cafeteria you can sit in. It's false. It's just your regular, like, oh, this is a senior section. It's really not. You can sit anywhere you want. Just might feel awkward because there's seniors around you, that's all. So in the seminars, again, we're kind of helping the students to understand 9th grade really counts. We talk a little bit about the academics. We show them a sample transcript to see that there's some progression to what they're doing. 9th grade counts, yes, but any college, and our 9th graders do ask questions about college right away, which makes us crazy, but they do and we answer them. So we show them that transcript and we say, look, if 9th grade doesn't go really well, you still have 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Here's what it looks like. You can improve. You can move up levels. You can move down levels. You can take tons of electives by the time you're junior and senior. So it's really just answering all kinds of questions that they have in the beginning. After those 3 sessions, then, as Amy said, they go with the academic center coordinator, academic support center coordinator. We have a new name this year. They do their sessions there, and then from there they go to the library media center coordinator, who does an info literacy class, which helps the students to get to know the library media center, all the databases that we have, how to research. Jennifer McGillis, who's our librarian, works with teachers to combine what projects they're working on and then how to use the library for those projects and things like that. So it's a rich curriculum for the 9th graders especially. 10th through 12th graders, they're shorter in time span. We meet with them 3 or 4 times. You don't need to know about that. But your 9th graders will be really coddled for that first semester of school to make sure that they're really getting on the right foot and they know the resources and the people to reach out to if they need support. We also want to keep in touch with you, and as it says on the slide, like, how do I know when to call a counselor? You can call us anytime. It just might take us a little while to get back to you because we're with students most of the day. If you have a concern regarding your student, give us a call. You can talk to Monica Mulcairn, who also I didn't put up here because she's brand new, doesn't have a picture yet, but she's the front lines of defense in the counseling office. You can call her, you can schedule a time with her to meet with a counselor, share some concerns and things like that. If you have some information to share that affects your student during the school day, or possibly might, they're upset about something happened in the family, you can talk with us confidentially about that. We can talk about whether we think that the teachers need to know that in case they're off in class and things like that. So that's an important thing for us to know if something's going on and they might have a difficult time, so we can look out for them. If you have a personal matter to discuss with us, if you have a question regarding your student's schedule or course selection, that will happen now in the springtime because most students are pretty settled. Certainly there's some changes that are happening. There might be some level changes or elective shifts and things like that. So you can talk with us about that as well. And also, just as the administrator said, if you don't know who else to ask, just call us. Monica Mulcairn can answer questions. Any of our counselors can answer questions. Any of the administrators can as well. Did I catch all my stars here? I think so. Yes, I think we're good. Now, am I next is the question. Again, it's not moving. Only mine moves. Is it, it's not moving, so I can't remember what's next. I think it's me. Ours is NRP, see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Okay, there we
it.
go.
Okay.
Okay, so more contacting us other than counselors. We do, again, want to hear from you. So here's just some guides as far as when to get in touch with teachers or someone else. So get in touch with teachers with questions about classes or to share information about your child's learning. Students do come first here. We really want to make sure that we're doing the best we can with them. Get in touch with the Academic Support Center, or Amy Lima and Emily Bowden, who is our teaching assistant there, for during the school day. This should be after connecting with their teacher. So if a student is really struggling in something right away, first line of defense is the teacher. So they can meet with them during their study hall blocks, or if the teacher doesn't match up with their study blocks, they can get a tutor in the academic center through Amy and through Emily. You may also get in touch with the main office for attendance, administrative needs, or when you're just not sure, they can also be kind of the first line of defense and answer lots of questions. You can get in touch with the department head of one of the academic departments when you have questions about levels, requirements, or concerns about your child's experience in that department. Also, sometimes you're talking with department heads when it has to do with course selection and override systems, for some of you that know that word from the middle school too. And you could always reach out to administrators for anything of major concern that doesn't fit somewhere else, or when you're not sure who you need to talk to. Okay. And I think up next is Laura. You talking about upcoming dates? Allison, upcoming dates? I can talk about them. I don't care. This is true. You'll see us again.
So some upcoming dates, just to mark your calendar, is the chat hour. This was formerly called PI, the Parent Information Exchange. This is something put on by our PTO in collaboration with administration. So the next upcoming one is September 23rd at 8:45. And back to school night will be Thursday, oh my gosh, that's coming up quick, September 29th from 7 to 9. And this is a really great way for you. You'll get your student's schedule, you'll follow it, you'll have to navigate the hallways in less time than they get, I think. But it's a really great night. It'll be me and Sean's second one, so we're really excited. So now I'm going to segue in to having Piper come on up here. I think Sydney, oh, hold on, I see her.
Oh, yes, good timing.
Oh, Sydney Lloyd, coming from, is probably one obligation to another, and I appreciate it. And they're going to talk to you just about some advice that they're pros. They're going to give you some advice of what worked for them in their 9th grade year. And then we'll segue into questions, and we might have you guys stay up here just to answer some of the questions, and we'll work together. You can't? Maybe? Oh, good, you will. So this is Piper, Cindy, and Sydney Lloyd.
Hi guys, we're both seniors here at the high school, and I'm Piper.
I'm Sydney.
Yeah. Do you want to just do? Okay. So, I guess we can also. Is it okay if I have other stuff I want to say too? Totally. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Sounds good. So, I guess I have some advice for you guys for your freshmen. So the first thing, Ms. Sacramone said this, but don't bring up college. Yeah, obviously your grades matter, but high school is about experiencing new stuff. And speaking of that, I would convince them to try a new club. I definitely found my passions through that, such as SAD and mental health club, and kind of starting a mental health initiative here. So definitely that. And yeah, I would just try to set up as much open communication with your kids about school and just what's going on in their lives as possible to develop trust. I mean, yeah, everyone will tell you that. But yeah, one thing that I've really loved about my time here is the teachers all genuinely believe in you and want you to do better for yourself. And the friends that I've made through clubs, through field hockey, and through I don't know, like other high school related stuff, especially the underclassmen. I've gotten to know some freshmen and sophomores pretty well, and now some of them are my best friends, which is pretty cool. Sorry, Sydney. Another thing that I want to say is there's obviously a lot more accountability, which definitely helped me a lot with the transition to freshman year. I kind of realized that my grades definitely matter. And yeah, and advocating for yourself is really, really important. And I would just convince your kid, if you think they're struggling in one area or another, to just go talk to their teacher and see what they can do to do better in the class. Yeah, so that's kind of what I would say. What do you?
Yeah, I have a few pieces of advice that I would give to myself if I were to do freshman year again. And the biggest thing for me would be learning how to study. That was something that I really did not understand at all when I came in as a freshman, because in the middle school they do the grading system a lot differently than they do in the high school. So they go on a grade basis of 1 through 4, 4 being exceeds, 1 being you didn't quite meet the standard. And all of a sudden you get into this area, this world of high school where they do grades based on percentages. And for me as a freshman, that scared the pants off of me. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was never taught how to grade myself in that way. So the biggest thing I think you should teach your kids is that grades, obviously, like Piper said, don't matter as much as they're gonna work themselves out to be. And checking your home access center or whatever grade system you use to look at your scores is not of utmost priority. However, you should definitely learn how to study. A lot of the high school teachers put an emphasis on learning the content, and then when you are given the test, they're going to give you questions that are construed in a different way than as you learned in class. So if you learn one subject in class a certain way, you're going to get questions based on that, the way they taught you, but they're not going to be exactly like the study guide. So everything you learn in class won't exactly follow that, and that's kind of what freaked me out as a freshman. I was like, I don't know how this, even though it was all kind of the same thing. It all looks generally the same, but you have to learn a different way to do it, that's very important. So those are 2 things I would say.
Yeah. Also another thing, don't put pressure on your kids to do certain, or to take certain classes they might not be interested in. Obviously, trying to put your best foot forward is really, really important, especially as they become older and start looking at schools if that's something they're pursuing. But tell them to find classes that they're really interested in and take that, as opposed to challenging themselves in stuff they're not as interested in, because they probably won't do as well as they would have done in something that they're interested in. Yeah.
Yeah. And in general, usually at the middle school, I always found that's one of my favorite things about my middle school experience, is that you were always able to just kind of knock on the door and be like, hi, I don't know what you're teaching me, and just ask them for advice or like to re-explain things. And that theme is consistent throughout the high school too. You're able to go into one of the specific offices that hold, like there's a science office where the science teachers are, and a math office and XYZ. So if you encourage them to enter those offices frequently and ask questions when they have them, their high school experience will be so much easier. It just goes faster when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So go into the offices.
Yeah.
Should we invite folks to ask questions?
Totally.
Oh, yes, okay. All right, so, best laid plans didn't happen. So I think we're actually having difficulty reading your questions if you entered them into our fancy schmancy Pear Deck. So we're gonna go ahead and do, Mr. Gass, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. So we're just gonna go for the old-fashioned, who has a question? And that way we can hear your voices, and then we can sort of exchange information in that way. So what brave 9th grade parent would like to offer a question that we can clarify, that we can expound on? What's on your mind that we haven't covered? I have a question. Yes, thank you.
So, there was the rhetoric around kind of lots of electives and choice and everything. But as a parent, someone who's been further on in the school, I guess I haven't necessarily seen that. So this year, the kids had the choice of kind of one elective, like if they wanted to have a study hall, with one thing. In many cases, like my kid didn't get the thing he wanted. I asked him about the programming. He's like, no, Mom, the Java or the Python thing's not happening. I have no idea if that's actually true or not
Right.
true. Every kid has to do art. He didn't get art. So now that's kind of going to be a thing he has to do next year. So I guess my experience has been that there isn't actually another choice. By the time you've done the languages you have to do, you've done your year of art, you did the thing you didn't want to do because it was the only thing on the schedule, there's not that much choice. So what am I missing? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there other choices that I just have been unaware of? Or like, I guess I just see a mismatch there.
Yes, so let me, maybe I'll just sort of offer a couple of comments and then see what other contributions folks have. So I think, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is there will be more choices the older your students get. And so there are, as 9th graders, things are pretty tight. if your student is taking a world language then as their 5th class, not to get into a huge amount of details, we have 8 periods, and 5 of those periods are automatically filled up with the 5 kind of academic majors, which includes a world language, and we do have a world language requirement here. A 6th period is generally taken by wellness, which is a state requirement, and it's become more robust here at the high school, and it meets, I think, 3 or 4 times a cycle. So that's the 6th period. So you're right, when we talk about sort of, hey, there's all these amazing electives, that's true, and there isn't a whole lot of time to squeeze it in, and part of it is around the magic of the master schedule, which we do pull apart and build again year after year. However, the choices sometimes aren't there for students. So I think just in terms of where the journey that your student is on as they get older, once they fulfill the fine arts requirement, if it's something they're going to do for a year, and then they really want to take a business class, or they really want to get into computer science, I'd say by sophomore year and junior year, there's actually a little bit more wiggle room in schedules. The other piece is that depending on science labs and things like that, that can also tighten up a schedule. So for students who are doubling in science later on, that can make things complicated. There is a magic to the construction of the schedule. So I regret that it might sound like we're selling something that we can't deliver on. I think it's something that's more deliverable the older they get. I don't know if folks have other comments about that.
Yeah. Also, I would say with art electives, there's a lot more than just Art 1 and Art 2. So if your child has something, I think it's called metalsmith,
Yeah,
is that it?
metalwork, yeah.
Yeah. Or like drawing or painting, that also counts towards it. I don't know if he has that. But yeah, you could have it semester by semester too, as opposed to just Art 1, Art 2, or something like that.
Right. There's a lot more to say there, but there's the scheduling process gets complicated. We're also trying to expand on some of the number of sections of our most popular courses. Our business program, for example, is oversubscribed. Many of our fine arts classes are oversubscribed, so we're trying to also, in some cases for 9th graders, we'll give preference to the older students who have diminishing sort of opportunities to take those courses, which also will open up as they get older. Meredith? Yeah.
My voice. There's a saying that we use in the counseling office, and for me it's been used 32 years. It's Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but you always get what you need. So our graduation requirements are such that your students are going to have well above those graduation requirements. That's the only thing we can guarantee, unfortunately. We hear you, and for the first month of school, all we're doing is talking to students about, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, can you switch this, can you switch that? We do our best, and hopefully you'll be patient with that, that we do our best because of all the reasons that Ms. Mizuguchi just shared with you. I'll also say that it doesn't always happen that, for example, it's not just wellness that is the 6th course, it's the 9th grade seminar, it's the lab that you have for biology block. If you have music, sometimes music can wrap around things, sometimes it can't. Sometimes wellness is in this block and seminars are in this block, so that takes up 2 blocks. So you definitely can't get an elective. It's very complicated and we apologize. That's the bottom line.
Other brave soul with question. Yes, please.
I'm just wondering, you said you have added more counselors, but I wonder, is there anything you guys are doing sort of for the wave of all of the challenge, everything being sort of wrecked from the past 2 years?
So aside from, what kind of support are you referring to?
Are there any other changes to your program or anything to sort of accommodate sort of the changed world?
So the question is, are there any, besides additional counseling support, are there any other changes that we've made to respond to the increased needs of our students due to just the tumultuous world that we've been living in the last 3 years? And I'd say that it is both a daily point of reflection for all of our educators as far as what we used to do doesn't always work now. Our students aren't necessarily thinking the same thoughts. They're not necessarily prepared with the same skills, although I think we're in very good shape as far as the skills and content go. But just in terms of setting up a classroom community where students can feel safe and learn, I'd say that's another piece that we have really emphasized. Relationships have always been the bread and butter of being an educator, right? But I think being deliberate with the way that we set up our community here so that students can be safe, can get their needs met, can ask more questions, there's more formative assessments, there's more understanding on the teachers' parts about where our students are. So I'd say inside the classroom, there are a lot of different practices that our teachers are really mindful of now. And having been through what they've been through, I think our educators are also thinking about, geez, what do I need from my students in order to, how can I get more information in unique ways as opposed to just this grade on the test? That just is the thing that comes to mind.
Please, just because you asked my passion question, because I'm super passionate about this right now, because I think we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the learning academic loss was. In the last year, we as a school have really stepped back to say, what else has been lost? And I'm just gonna highlight the work of this individual over here who, as a student, said, we need to do something about mental health and put together a mental health panel for the entire school that included students. So we're really actually focusing on what can every student get here around social emotional. And that goes like social pragmatics, because kids are having trouble just asking for like, where's the bathroom? Like it's just, we're really, the self-advocacy and all of that. So we're noticing conflicts are really hard for them to resolve. So Sean has been working with Metro West Mediation Services. We're gonna be initiating a peer mediation program here. Keep that in your mind, because that's gonna be a wonderful leadership opportunity, especially if you have a kid who you know likes to solve problems. They're gonna be helping us work with students on the ground of solving conflict. We're working with ADL right now. Students spoke really clearly that they wanted to see some cultural diversity programming here. So we're really listening to what students are asking for. We also have a really interesting program that we're starting to look at to actually measure social emotional learning. It's called Panorama. It's really cool. It's a self-reflective survey in which students can rate social emotional CASEL competencies. So how am I doing with time management? How am I doing with reaction to setbacks? And what's really cool is that in individual classrooms, a teacher can do that too. And then they can look and say, okay, what am I noticing my students are missing in the classroom right now? It looks like a lot of kids are struggling with time management and study skills. And so we're gonna work in some content around Cornell note-taking and how we study. So we're really taking a step back and not looking at what are the individual needs that every kid needs, but what are the larger themes around social emotional programming and psychoeducation that we can provide to students. And we're doing that too through state mandates like SBIRT, or that's a substance abuse screening that all 10th graders go through. And also too, just more school-wide emphasis on mental health. That took place, that panel, during Winter Week. Winter Week here is really known for movie night or student events, and that was the first time that ever people were able to, in this auditorium, have an open, honest conversation about mental health here on our campus and how to get help. So we're moving in that direction. Our focus is slightly moving there because we are noticing that it's not just individual one kid. There is a whole loss here around social emotional, and the idea is that we want them to feel that they're making progress there too. So super passionate, could talk all night about it, but that's why I ran up here when I heard that. So thanks for that question, that was wonderful.
Other questions, particularly for our students, if anybody has any questions. Yep, go ahead. Okay.
So they all have lockers, they're on their schedule, they're also in their home access center with the combination. I could send a screenshot for that too, because someone just asked me for it. No one uses their lockers here.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I could never provide, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's too much stuff in the backpack, or?
Well, I think that the teachers who still use textbooks, no offense to them, but that doesn't make any sense.
Well, we're working on that, but they don't use their lockers, and at Lincoln Sudbury, 1,600 kids, no one used their lockers, so they're kind of just there. But have your kid come talk to me, and I could show them where their locker is. I've noticed kids use their wellness lockers more.
Yeah, people do. You use it
Use your wellness locker, but not your school.
You have it on your it's on your schedule.
It's on your
right?
printed out schedule, yeah.
Your number and then your combination. So, yeah, that's exactly why none of us do it, and it's annoying, but
in the middle school, all of the, like, when you're in 8th grade, you have a wing, and when you're in 7th grade and 6th grade, that's how the middle school is.
Yeah.
Is how it looks. In the high school, there's like history, it's everywhere. So the idea of getting to your locker, getting all your stuff for history, and then going upstairs to history, coming back to get the rest of the stuff, it's like mind-blowing.
Yeah,
So
also,
just can't do it.
one thing I would tell your kid to do is to kind of look at their schedule for the day ahead, and if they don't have a certain class, just don't bring that stuff to school. It might make it easier.
And also, too, almost every textbook that we have here on campus, they could ask the teacher, they might have an electronic copy, and every single one is in the library or in the academic support center. And I'm 100% positive if they walked in and said, I need a textbook into the science office, there's gonna be science
Yeah.
teachers sprinting to get that book for them. So always feel free to say, you could be flexible with that amount of stuff in your backpack. But it's a weird thing, they don't use their lockers.
No, for real.
Other questions?
I remember.
It's sort of a vague question, but I appreciate hearing your perspectives on, there's things about like, encourage your child to contact their teacher instead of contacting them. And one of the things I think is challenging, and for me, is the balance. Because I know that it's more academically rigorous, so if you give them too much time and they get behind, then it's harder to catch up. And on the other hand, obviously they want to be independent. So I don't know if you have any suggestions of like, how do you gauge, like as a parent, and the reality is that most teenagers don't want their parents in their business, so that's understandable. But it's hard to gauge. And I'm curious, actually, I appreciate you coming up too, because it was sort of more, I'm curious as students what's helpful.
Yeah.
But then also, like, how do students access the academic support center, and how is it ongoing or short term, and if they don't want it because they are embarrassed or someone says something or whatever, how you manage that? So students, you guys go first.
Yeah. So I can talk about that. I know there's a big thing around the SPED program. I'm in that. It's helped me a tremendous amount. I'm sure a bunch of your kids in here are on that. It helps a lot. But if your kid isn't, office hours, Sydney talked about this, going in to meet with specific teachers, you can set up times. Usually you can talk to your teacher during class. They do that a lot. I went in to talk to Miss Pitt Karen, who's an English teacher here for upperclassmen. I don't have her, but I wanted to meet with her for my my college essay, which is crazy. But yeah, they're always open. They have an open door policy, basically. Sometimes they'll ask you to email them, but they'll talk to kids about work or whatever else is going on in their life whenever. So tell your child to do that if you think something's going on.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, like you spoke about, there's definitely a balance between the teacher or the teacher learning about the student's issue from the parent versus learning about it from the student themselves. Because I feel like the biggest thing, like when I was a freshman, I couldn't craft an eloquent email that would explain all my problems to my teacher. Like sometimes I would need a little bit of parent support. But the biggest thing is that, and when you do, if any of you guys have children who have already been to college and they need a rec letter, the biggest thing that colleges want to know is whether or not your child can advocate for themselves. So if they're having a difficult time in that class, the colleges want to know that your child is able to write that email and say, hi, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this, can you come help me? So if your kid is having any kind of difficulty with one subject, like if they're feeling like they're sitting down with their homework and they don't get it, that is the moment. That's a perfect time where they can write the email themselves and say, I'm not really getting this subject, I would like some help. If it's a little more like complex than that, I think that's definitely a situation where the parent can reach out. But advocacy, like self-advocacy in high school, when you just don't get it, is something that's very important for students. So.
Okay, so a few more thoughts to add kind of in my academic support center mind. So that idea of like where do you balance between the parent or caretaker stepping in and letting a student advocate for themselves. I am not a parent to all of your students, but I have this question myself, right? Because in my role, my goal is that by the time a student depends on the student, right? A few weeks after I meet them, a few years after I meet them, I want them to have those skills to advocate for themselves as well. So what I do, which is maybe what I would recommend a parent or caretaker to do at home as well, is I give them a chance to try it themselves, right? I say, you should talk to this teacher about this problem, this question, this grade. The next time I see them, I'll say, did you talk to them? Did you send an email? And when the answer is no, I say, let's do it together, right? So then I actually sit down with the student If we can talk to the teacher in person, we do that. But if we can't, I have them open their email, right, and guide them through that process of what do you say in this email? You know, even a sophomore today was like, how do I say I'm going to be absent from school tomorrow? Like, what words do I write down in this email to explain it to my teachers? And I helped the student craft that email. It was very straightforward, right? But to the student, that was a mystery. Similarly, I would recommend if you notice your student is struggling to maybe keep up with their schoolwork or keep track of assignments, maybe it's once a week saying, let's look at your Google Classroom pages together, right? Let's sit down together. Let's look at your Home Access Center together. Please not every day, that will make everybody more stressed, but occasionally, right? Saying, let's sit down and do it together, because then you're modeling for them, teaching them those skills. To jump to that other piece of the question that you asked you about the Academic Support Center, it varies, like it can be short-term. It can be a student drops in once and I never see them again for 4 years, right? But even on my schedule, it can be short-term. I always tell students once they're on my schedule, I'm not going to take away the support just because they ask me to. Like that would be a conversation with a parent or caretaker, but it really varies. I hope there's not much of a stigma to the Academic Support Center. Last year across the school year, I worked with 200 of our 800 students. It's a quarter of our school, right? So I don't think that there's much stigma. A ninth grader might not know that though, right? They might be thinking like, is this an okay place to be? Okay place to be?
Yeah, I don't think there's any stigma specifically with that. I think with getting help in general for ninth graders, like you said, everyone thinks it's embarrassing, but honestly, it's more embarrassing to be failing a class, so.
Good point. And another piece too, that even without sort of the Academic Support Center piece with me, when your ninth grader is in study hall, that is another time that they can go ask to meet with the teacher. They ask their study hall teacher if they can go to the math office, to the English office, whatever it is, to ask their teacher a question. And especially if that's been arranged with the teacher in advance, like that's a good option for them as well. Does that help answer your question? Okay.
Could you talk about the difference between Home Access Center and Google Classroom in terms so they understand kind of what to look at, what to not look at?
Speaking to the mic question, just so folks can hear, yeah. Ms. Ackerman just asked us to explain the difference between Google Classroom and Home Access Center. So Home Access Center is this very difficult to log in thing that has probably given you a lot of problems, because it has for me. But it's wonderful once you get in sometimes. But the difference between Home Access Center and Google Classroom is that the Home Access Center gives you your grades and your percentage for all the classes. Google Classroom is the app that teachers use to give you your literal assignments, and that's where you fill in the homework and you press submit and XYZ. Sometimes they give you a grade on Google Classroom, but usually it's reflected in Home Access Center, and that's where you can see your percentage.
Yeah, and you also get your report cards on there and your mid-year and final grades, so yeah.
One more question. Another hand? Gotcha, perfect, thank you.
Completely stupid logistical question, because we just moved.
That everybody's thinking, I'm sure, so.
We lived less than a month ago.
Oh, welcome.
How does my student get notifications about things? Like, we didn't know today was picture day. He was very upset that it was picture day, and he had no idea.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of communication, this two-way communication, right? We want to hear from you, you want to hear from us. And so there are a couple of things that I would definitely recommend that you sign up for or do. The first is, if you haven't signed up for our e-news, that is a weekly blast of announcements that we send on Fridays, and we try to cover at least the coming week and sometimes like long-term stuff. And so adding in pieces like, hey, it's picture day, end of the quarter, those kinds of things, holidays. And that's it. You sign up for that using, on our website, you can sign up for the e-news. There's a subscription sort of link on there. So that's the first thing, and that's just sort of information blast. Laura and Sean have been sending out emails on Fridays with sort of a wrap-up to both students and families. So if you're not getting, they've sent one. So last Friday was the first one. And that'll be, I think, a weekly or bi-weekly information send. I'm going to be sending out more sort of reflective pieces, so less about the logistics, because you can get the logistics from the e-news, more about sort of, hey, spotlight on a curriculum change, or kind of here's why we do what we do at the high school. I'm planning on sending those out on Mondays. Please.
Is that go to the students?
Yes,
Yeah.
all those things I described go to students as well. Yes.
Tell
Laura?
So almost every communication that the high school sends out, your students will be copied on. We feel it's important that they know what we're telling you. The other thing is I just want to highlight Home Access Center because I know that it's not really used in the younger levels. Make sure that your email is up to date in there because that's the portal in which we get your email addresses, your contact information, the emergency contact information is updated in there. You also, through that portal, are able to see your students' academic progress. So Home Access Center is a really important feature that I just want to emphasize that get on there if you're, she's not wrong, it's hard to log into. And so if you have any trouble, reach out. And two, if your student is having trouble, like Home Access Center that is the #1 tool that our teachers are using to ensure that it's up to date with assignments and grades. So get your student, let's go together onto Home Access Center right now and look at this. We use that for a tremendous amount of information. All of their attendance information's in there. So it's a great way for you, if you get a robocall that's like your kid missed a class, you can sign into Home Access Center and you can see exactly what class they missed. So it's just a really important feature, and I just want to say if you haven't been on there, and I can see some people on their cell phones right now, so either I'm boring you or you're on Home Access Center, it's just super important, and it's just get on there. It's a portal to all the information of your kid right now. So, but if your email's not updated in there, that's how we send messages. So if you're getting, just make sure your information's up to date. If you don't know how to access it, just reach out to me. But Home Access Center is very important.
Please beg and encourage your students to check their email. Students have to check their email in order to get notifications from teachers, notifications from counselors, notifications from administrators. If they don't check their email, they're going to be out of the loop, period. So maybe it's also sitting with them and say, okay, it's time to check your email. If there's like 50 emails from the counselor, like, oh, you were supposed to go to blah, 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 blah. So please, they really need to check their email. I know they're all about texting, and I know they're all about, I remind text with some of my students, but the email, the global emails are really important for students to check.
Okay. We also try to update our website, and there's a calendar on the right-hand side of our website that lists all the letter days, that has upcoming holidays. I don't know if Picture Day was listed there, but that's another place where if you're just wondering what letter day is it tomorrow, or your student is wondering, those things are on the website. This is a lot of pushing out information. More conversational ways of connecting with us are upcoming. So the chat hour, which is happening in a couple of weeks in the morning, I'll send out a reminder, is an opportunity for more sort of a dialogue with folks here at the high school. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're so pleased that you were here to join us. And we look forward to seeing you at Back to School Night at the end of the month, which is an opportunity for you to not just see us again, but see your child's teachers. So thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.